Good afternoon, folks. How are we doing? Somehow it is almost May. I've said this before and I'll say it again. This year is absolutely flying by. Hello, Radiant Leave. How are you? Hope you are doing well. I myself, I'm kind of sleepy. I just didn't. Yeah, I just didn't sleep well last night. I just kept waking up at weird times, and I woke up about something past 4, and it really took me ages to get back to sleep. And you reach that stage where you go, "Oh God, it's 4:30," and my alarm is going to go off at like 6:45, and then your brain goes, "Well, I have to sleep now. I have to sleep now. If I'm not going to sleep now, I'm going to feel dreadful." And then the other part of your brain goes, "Well, you might as well just get up. You're very awake. You should do this. Just get up now. It'll be fine." And unfortunately, I did go back to sleep. And I wasn't too bad when my alarm went off. But I could have done with a much better night's sleep than that. But oh well. Quite sleepy too must be spreading. Well, you have my sympathies. Stay at an appropriate level of caffeination and see if we can make it through the day. I think is the best plan here. But I hope you're doing all right. All right, news, stuff like that. Not a huge amount, to be honest. I'm not quite sure what happened to last week. I'll talk about little bits and pieces. Hatchling DM, you wonderful, wonderful human being. How are you doing? So good to see you. For those who don't know, Hatchling DM, I'm assuming this is Rich using the Hatchling DM account. An amazing creator of tabletop RPGs for kids, things like Over-Isles, Dragon Dowser and the like. They are technically in camera, but you're very at the top shelf there, but you will not be able to see it. It's out of focus. No, absolutely wonderful human being, who I've met in person once briefly, and but we're both going to the Tabletop Creators Summit at MCM, which is going to be a lot of fun, I think. It'd be nice to catch up properly with a load of people. Decided to have a day off work. I think you deserve it. You work like an absolute machine. I don't know how you keep going. But no, please enjoy your day off. And if this this amount of random nonsense is some amount of enjoyment in the middle of your day, I hope it does that and does that well. No, so good to see you. Just enjoy it. Absolutely. So what's going on? Like I said, last week a flurry of bits and pieces, but also to the degree that I spoke to my dad on Sunday and he said, "Did you have a good time at the weekend?" Yeah. And I was like, "What was I doing at the weekend?" It's like, "You said you were going to London." Was I in London? And then I remembered, oh yeah, Dimension 20 and all of that last Sunday. And then I was off on Monday. It's like, felt like a long time ago. I was just racking my brain going, what was I doing? I know I was somewhere. It's just all been a little bit ridiculous. Doing all right. The thing today, really, I was kind of hoping, foolishly, that I'd get this sorted before the stream, but I have a day job. It was never going to happen. Today is the 2nd anniversary of Little But Fierce. Yeah, so 2 years ago, I released Little But Fierce that evening, and it got a lot of shares. It did very well. I mean, I think huge thanks to, everyone who shared it, but Gail Simone and Matthew Mercer both retweeted that original share, so that got a bit of momentum going on that. Understandably so, 2 wonderful human beings with an awful lot of followers. It's been... It feels like a long time and no time at all. I can't believe, we're at 2 years. But that does mean that getting released this evening will be the 2nd anniversary add-on, 6 Impossible Things, which I will take you through in just a second. So you can have a sneak preview of that before it gets officially released tonight. It's going to pay what you want, so you can buy it for nothing, or if you want to give me some money, that's cool as well. But it is a little gift to everyone who is playing it to add some more fun to it. But I thought I would do a little roundup of how Little But Fierce has gone. And this is not a brag. This is just, this is me just kind of reflecting objectively on how it's done, because it is what I consider to be my flagship product. Before that was kind of Hobbled Adventures, which has done quite well, and other little bits and pieces. But this has been huge, and it's the thing I'm investing a huge amount of time in. So I thought I'd just run through some numbers really quickly. Now these are just the drive-through RPG numbers. I didn't have a chance to draw together sales from everywhere else. But honestly, I don't sell that much stuff through Itch. I've sold a dozen copies of this and that through Itch, and a few directly from my website. But mainly it's through Drive-Through RPG. Oh, and Ko-Fi. Thank you, Link, for coming up at just the right time. I don't think I sold anything directly through Ko-Fi yet, but it is on there. It is all on there if that's your cup of tea. So the big one here is that the starter edition of Little But Fierce in these 2 years has sold 570 copies, which makes it a gold bestseller. It's the only thing I've ever done that's a gold bestseller, which is just incredible. I remember racking my brain when I was about to release it at first, and it was, how much am I going to charge for this? Because it was one of those, it's that horrible debate, and I've talked about it before. It's, kind of how many hours you put into it, and you can do the maths based on, well, it's this many pages. But what are you going to charge for it? Because it is a huge gamble when you release a brand new thing out into the world. If people buy it, that's awesome. If people don't buy it, that really sucks. And then you got to think, well, do I start undercutting myself and reducing the price in the hope that then gathers a bit of momentum? But I was really pleased that it's done well. And I think one of the things that has done really well with it is the bundle sales. Because I've done the starter edition, I've done 2 major add-ons so far, and 2 smaller add-ons, about to be 3 as of about 8 o'clock tonight. There's a surprising number of people who dive in and go, I'm going to get the bundle. Because, with all the other bits and pieces. What's your time worth? It's a tough question. It really is. And it's different to a printed thing because there's no production cost. And also you kind of go through that time frame. And I know some people do this maths, and I have to say I don't, but it's how long do I wait before considering, kind of the totality of the amount of money I've got from it compared to the amount of time I put into it, especially if you've invested in art. That's a tough one. To go, I'm going to pay this amount of money up front, and it's not going to break even until X number of months or years in the future. That's a tough calculation. You've got to have capital in order to do it, which is tough. And that's why a lot of people have started doing smaller crowdfunders for it. I know Steph at Tabletop RPG Kids, TTRPG Kids. I can't speak today. That's not a good sign when you're streaming. They've started using crowdfunder even for smaller stuff, so that you can just go, right, I know I've got some investment at the start here that can immediately go into the art and the this and the that, and then you break even more or less straight away. But you don't have to take that gamble of, oh my god, how much money am I going to invest up front for something that may not do well? Art costs us everything, 90% of the project. I can absolutely imagine. The biggest art investment I've done so far was Blunderlings, which was the art from Sleepiest Designs. And that's not done as well as I would have liked. It will, I think, do well eventually, because it's part of a bundle. So every time someone buys the bundle, they get that. But it was, I've nowhere near broken even on that. Blunderlings is the part that's not sold as well yet, because it's the latest thing, and it's the most expensive of the add-ons so far. That's only sold 25 copies, so I'm a long way from breaking even on that, but I kind of made the investment. I know that actually, as I'm developing this brand, that it is all going to work out in the end. But they do look lovely, absolutely, and that is a huge thing. Radiant Leaf is here in the room. Radiant Leaf did the cover art for Little But Fierce. My daughter as a barbarian with my now sadly passed away cat as a familiar / animal companion. And I made the decision, well, this starter edition, it's just gonna have one piece of art on the cover. I'll find a nice public domain texture to the background, and we'll go from there. With the knowledge of, and I'm still intending to do it, that when I do the crowdfunded, hardback edition, that's going to have a lot more of everything. It's going to have all the classes, for example, in it, and a lot more stuff that I'm going to go fully illustrated for that. And hoping that Radiant Leaf is up for the challenge of that one. But that's going to be a huge investment. But I know I'm going to do that as a crowdfunder. So I can go, right, this is the budget, this is this amount goes to art, I can do that up front and then maybe stretch goals to get more art, etc., etc. But I've not taken that gamble yet on something that's huge and illustrated. Like I said, the most I've done was Blunderlings, which has front cover, art scroll, background, and about 5 pieces of kind of thumbnail art. And even then, that was a lot. It's difficult. I think that's going to be beautiful. I really hope so. I'm. It's one of the things that, it doesn't matter how many things I put up digitally, until I've got something in my hands that is the thing that I wrote, I don't think I'm not going to get that sensation of, I've made it, I've done the thing. It doesn't matter how much I see these numbers coming off or stuff on my website, until I can hold it in my hands and preferably be on a stall at a con or something. It's not going to quite seem real yet, which is odd. Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. I would love to be alongside kind of yourselves and all these other wonderful people respect, like next to Montfort Games and people like that. It would be really good to be there with a Little But Fierce stand with all these bits and pieces. But until I've got a physical product, I just don't feel I can do it. Because there is not a nice way to do digital sales at cons yet. I don't think, unless they buy it from you directly, and I don't really want to do that. I would prefer to be able to drive through. But it'd be, and I've even asked drive through about this before, I think it'd be great if they could have something where you could have like a tablet at a stall with QR codes or something, so they can very easily go, I want to buy that and I want to add it to my account easily. Put in your email address, do the thing, do the contactless pay, and it all goes through to the account. But without a nice, easy way to do that, it's just not worth it as an investment for me, which is a shame, because I really want to do conventions and actually do the selling of stuff. Did the first year expo, but it was mixed. I can only imagine. It's a tough one. Running through numbers. So what do we have on there? Little But Fierce, 570 is a goal. So it's a way before we get to the next level, which is 1001. But that's doing really nicely. Then next thing was Mara, which is the collaboration with Stuff Rock, using their Mara comics. So again, I didn't have to upfront pay for art. Just the royalty split we've got on that was letting me use the existing art and characters and stuff like that. That's sort of 171 copies. So that's a silver bestseller. We Must Give Us Pause, which is the first anniversary game, or add-on. It's got 126 sales, which is very cool. Given the fact that that was a single page, I'm really pleased with that. And I will say, let me just run this again in the background. Because that's pay what you want, undoubtedly it has done way more than that in terms of downloads. But I don't know how many people have actually downloaded that without even having the core game. Let's have a look. Must Give Us Pause. 250 downloads. So kind of twice again. Or not twice again. Yeah, double that in total. So, but only half of them actual sales, which is okay, which is fine and very cool, especially again for a one-page thing. Familiar Foes, which is my definitely not inspired by classic third D&D 5th edition monsters add-on. It's about 3 pages, 73, which is cool. That's a copper bestseller. And Blunderlings, we're not at a bestseller award yet, but it's 25 sales, which is cool. But as I said, as people start buying the bundle more and more, it will continue to get sales, which is cool. So let's have a quick whistle-stop tour of 6 Impossible Things, which, as I said, will come out this evening at about 8 o'clock-ish. Essentially, it'll be, I'll get the little one then to sleep, and I will potter around doing this stuff this evening. So let's have a look. So, if, I'm tempted to zoom you in, but then it's harder to scroll through stuff. But I'll talk through what we've got here. So 6 Impossible Things is Alice in Wonderland theme, because Alice in Wonderland, one, is cool, but secondly, it is public domain, and not only is the book public domain, but the original artwork is public domain as well, which you can see here. The Sir John Tenniel artwork. So 6 Impossible Things, a mini add-on for Little But Fierce. I'm really glad I found this. This subheading font here is a font designed based on Lewis Carroll's handwriting. So someone has taken Lewis Carroll's handwriting and turned it into a font. So that's what's there. So you've got 2 new kid in this one. You've got Dodo Folk and Rabbit Folk. What a nice little Easter egg. I liked it as well. The second I saw it, it's like, well, I have to use it. It's not the most legible font, so I didn't use it for the main title, but I thought it was fun. So Rabbit Folk was relatively easy to create because, well, you got dark vision, you got a lucky ability, they got a jumping ability. That was quite easy. I spent a while thinking about how to do Dodo Folk, because dodos don't really do much. That's probably why they're extinct. But I really wanted to do it because the Dodo character is such a famous kind of character and piece of art that I wanted to include it. So they've got a brave ability. They've got what I call a flappy dash ability, which lets them kind of run faster when they use the dash ability. And as a little Ice Age nod, they've got an ability called Doom on You, which is essentially a mini version of what's the Bane spell in 5th edition, and I forget what I called it in Little But Fierce. That'll be coming out in Stuff of Legends. It's going to leap to mind. But it's kind of a mini version of that, where we've got Doom on You, which I thought was quite nice. Dodos don't do much is almost a tongue twister. It really is. I'm amazed I'm not tripping over myself more talking through this stuff. So 2 new kin, which I think will be a lot of fun. Dodos didn't do Dodos didn't do diddly. There we go. I feel this is going to get sillier and sillier and sillier as we go. And hello, Photostyle. I hope we're doing well. So and then we've got 2 creatures on here. So you've got a card guard, which is so the various characters you see throughout Alice in Wonderland. I could have done various versions of these. If it had been a bigger expansion, I would have done various versions and like a Queen of Hearts and stuff like that, but it is just a little short freebie thing on there. So they're kind of just kind of soldier guard characters, but they've got a little quirk in there in that they each one has a suit, and they actually, if they end up fighting among themselves, certain suits do more damage to other suits. It's kind of a trumping type mechanism on there, which will probably not see a huge amount of use, but I thought it gave it a bit of fun colour. It seems silly not to use the 4 suits somehow in it. So I thought that'd be quite nice. The big creature here, of course, is the Jabberwock. So that was a lot of fun putting together. And a lot of whimsy going into this one. So it has 3 attacks, does the Jabberwock. It's got the jaws that bite, the claws that catch, and the confusing burble. So I think that'd be a lot of fun to drop into any Alice in Wonderland themed Little But Fierce game. And I really hope to hear about people doing an actual Alice in Wonderland themed one-shot. I'd be tempted to write it myself at some point. Again, if this had been a bigger expansion, and I was weighing up doing this as a bigger expansion, I would include an actual Alice in Wonderland one-shot. But because my roadmap's already pretty full of doing all the stuff based on new classes, I didn't want to overcommit to doing this as well. So it seemed like a nice thing to do for the anniversary. And last of all, we've got 2 obvious magic items. We've got a shrinking potion and a growing potion, which are kind of similar to the shrink and grow spells with some little quirks attached to them. So that's it. That's 6 impossible things. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. It was an idea. I was racking my brain of what I was going to do for the anniversary product, and I was away with work in London, and near where I work, doesn't dox me on this one. I work near South Bank in London. And there is a hotel there called the Mad Hatter that I ended up staying at once because the normal hotel we tend to book was full. And I was sat there eating dinner, and I thought, this is it. You know, it's an obvious thing to do. And the second I realised the artwork is public domain as well, I thought, well, this is a no-brainer. Doing something based on it seemed like quite a good idea. But the second I realised the artwork was public domain as well, I thought, yeah, I have to do this. So I really enjoyed putting it together. I'm quite pleased with the result. So that will come out this evening at, like I said, about 8 o'clock-ish. So I really hope people enjoy playing with that. What else have I been doing? Well, most of my last week has been spent doing things for Shought Thorts. So if you've not heard about this from me, and I have been talking about it a lot. Sorry about that. Short Thoughts is my short form interview show that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to get a bit ahead of myself with this. So it is a kind of 10 to 15 minute podcast. I say podcast, it's going to come out on YouTube first. I will probably convert it into a podcast as well once I see if it does the numbers, but I don't want to invest in podcast hosting straight away if it just kind of sings like an anvil, which I hope it doesn't, but there we go. But last week on Wednesday, I did my first interview for that, which was really awesome. And I've mentioned it for Ko-Fi subscribers already, but I'll officially I'll mention it to you wonderful people here, though I've not officially put it out there into the world yet. I interviewed B. Dave Walters, who is an absolutely lovely chap. I sort of reached out and he said, yeah, absolutely. So that was a wonderful little chat, which I'm currently editing down. We chatted for about kind of 25 minutes. I'm editing it down. It'll probably be a little under 15 minutes, the finished version. So that's going really well. Oh, grief, it's hard though. I mean, so there's some stuff I knew I had to do up front, and I'd done some little test stuff beforehand. Essentially, if you record a Zoom call, one of the nice features, if you switch it on, and you do have to switch it on, is that you get the video, but you also get an audio file for each participant. So you get separate audio files for each person on the call, which is great. So when I started editing it, I chucked in the video, removed the audio, split it into two, which was necessary for arranging the overlay, but also became very important later on. I then had the two audio files, which I cleaned up in Audacity to remove background noise. Not that there was much of it, Zoom's pretty good for that. I then attached a version of the video to each audio file, so they're tied together, and then I was able to start editing. And one of the things I've been playing around with Final Cut Pro quite a bit for some of the TikTok videos I've been doing, like the Spider-Man and the Mass Effect one I've done. But one of the things I hadn't realised was such of a pain when doing an interview. Now, if you're doing just a podcast and you've got the different audio streams, it's all right. You can go, oh, actually, we spoke over each other at this stage, but because it's got separate audio files, I can, have your bit and then my interjection afterwards, and then go back to you, and it flows a lot nicer rather than us accidentally talking over each other at certain times, which is what I want to do here, and I have. But that's so much harder when you've got the video as well, because you've got to make sure that the lips still match. You've got to keep the video in time with the audio, and that's why I've got two different screens of it, so that I can in certain places, and I've had to do it, where we have accidentally spoken over each other. You have to do a thing of, well, I'm going to, while I'm quiet just before the guest talking, I'm going to shrink down the time on that, make it run at about 80%. So I'm going to make it run faster, so 80% of the time taken, so that I finish a little bit earlier for that from what I'm saying. Then I'm going to stretch his a little bit. So again, we're not seeing horrible jumping. And then fix it on the other side, so it doesn't look too weird, because we're just sometimes a little bit slower, a little bit faster, which is fine if you're just kind of sitting there doing nothing. If you were talking, it would look really weird. But I've had to do lots of fixes like that to try and make it flow in certain places. I do have jump cuts at some point between questions, because it's kind of inevitable. There's some bits you just want to cut out, little asides or technical issues. But I've tried to make sure there's continuity rather than just jump, 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 jump. And when there is a jump cut, I've tried to make sure that it's always that we both jump to the next frame for the next question, rather than, oh, I'm talking and then suddenly the guest jumps. That looks weird and jarring, but it is somewhat ridiculous. I'll briefly pull up my not final draft, that's screenwriting, Final Cut Pro file of this. So, is it going to work sharing it on screen? So it already is a huge mass of stuff. Like, you can just see kind of the huge amounts of edits and cuts going through it, and I've not quite finished yet. I've got to do one more question's worth of editing on it. But I'll show you a smidge of the start of this, because I really like how this is looking. I'm just going to pause the music. So if I play this a little bit from the start. Hello and welcome to Short Thoughts, the bite-sized interview show where I ask your favourite people in the gaming industry a bunch of somewhat silly questions. My name's DC Bradshaw, and my guest today is B. Dave Walters.
It is I. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. That was the dozens and dozens of my fans cheering there for the dramatic entrance.
We all heard it.
It's true. It was on the internet. It must be true. Yeah.
That is
Hmm.
how it works. No, thank. So I'm really pleased with how that's working. It is a huge amount of work. It really is. So I'm very glad that my kind of notional thing I'm aiming for is to kind of release these fortnightly, so that I've got 2 weeks to edit something together. And that's if I'm really up against it. I've released something, I have to release something in about 2 weeks. I've got 2 weeks to edit something. That's not too bad. I'm almost done with this. I recorded on Wednesday. I started editing Thursday. I'll probably finish it tonight or tomorrow. So that's not bad. I've turned it around in less than a week. So I'm really pleased with how that's going. And I hope it gets a good response. I'm hoping that if it's something that's 10, 15 minutes long, that actually that holds attention. Yeah, that's something you can watch or listen. Well, one something you can listen to and have on in the background, which is always useful. And if you're watching it, you can watch it while you eat breakfast or while you're having your lunch, rather than I'm not going to commit to sit down and watch something that's 60 minutes long. Because if I'm going to watch something that's 60 minutes long, I'm going to watch the next episode of the show I'm watching, or something else that's going to pique your interest. But if it's 10, 15 minutes, that's not a huge commitment. That's my thinking of this one. And hopefully, when it becomes a podcast, similarly, people can do that with commuting, which would be nice. Hello, Papaya Pariah. How are you doing? It's great to see you here. We have just been talking about Little But Fierce's anniversary, second anniversary, and you're going to get an Alice in Wonderland themed piece of content for free this evening. And I've just shown a little taster of Shought Thorts, which is my bite-sized interview show, which will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I've recorded one episode. I'm editing it right now. Almost done. I hope I'll probably release that either next week or the week after. Like I said, I want to stay ahead of myself a bit. I don't want to be in a situation where I have to record a new interview and edit it to get it out in 2 weeks. I like to have a bit of slack built in there. Also, because if I'm constantly editing, I'm not writing. So I want a bit of slack on there. So I'm going to record a few interviews and then work my way through editing them so I've got some stuff in the bank, which will be nice for that. But I'm really pleased with how that's looking. There was a moment of, oh, good God, what have I got myself into here? So I'm really pleased with how that's looking. My next interview, I'm going to be interviewing on this Thursday. I'm interviewing artist Erin Angelini, and they are just awesome. I didn't even really know of their work hugely before Dragon Meet, where I heard them speak, and we've been chatting on Twitter since. So I'm really excited to be talking to them, and that should make another really good interview. Probably very different, talking to an artist rather than a writer and streamer, but yeah, that's going to be good. And if you are out there as a creator and you would like to be interviewed, please just reach out. Happy to say, I want to get a really good range of people involved in the TTRPG and general gaming industry, but I also want a diverse group of people. So I'm trying my best here to make sure that when I release them, I'm getting a nice mix. What I don't want to have is 4 episodes in a row when it's someone who looks like me. Because no offense, sorry, Rich. What I don't want is loads and loads of cis white males, because that is not the community. I want to have a good mix of people. So I want to make sure, both in terms of gender and race and orientation, I want to get a huge, diverse mix of people being interviewed. The ad break is finished now. Sorry if you missed any of that, but ads are what they're going to be. But if you would like to subscribe, you can. If you subscribe to my channel, you get access to the cute little pirate penguin emote, which is just really cool. And it means you get no ads, and I get a little bit of money, which is cool. So if you want to subscribe, that would be very, very cool. But you're under absolutely no pressure, no obligation to do so. So yeah, so that's really fun. It was one of these projects where I fancy doing this thing, and then I got into it. I thought I've signed up for a huge amount of work here, but I'm so glad that this work in progress edit is looking really good. I haven't had to do anything I really hate in terms of the edit, and it should be a really good result. So I look forward to sharing that with you very soon. What else? What else? So the other thing I've kind of been talking a little bit actually on Twitter, and this, and loads of people respond to this, which was kind of weird. Don't know why. Twitter's algorithm continues to be bizarre in that sense. Like you can put up like a really cool piece of creative content, either your own or share someone else's, and it just doesn't get a huge amount of engagement. And then you talk about the most inane thing in the world, and suddenly loads of people respond. It is just weird. But what I'm talking about here is I'm probably going to get myself a PlayStation in the near future. Very kindly, and this I kind of don't mind saying, a little bit of a bonus from my day job, which was cool. Some of which will go towards, other useful things about the house, but I am going to treat myself a little bit, and I'm going to get myself a PlayStation 5. What have we said? Whenever someone says people were talking about something on Twitter, I worry. No, that is quite reasonable. Oh my god, it could be anything. No, in this case, it's not too bad at all. So I think I'm going to get myself a PlayStation 5. I've been an Xbox person since, well, the original Xbox. So I had an Xbox, I had a 360. I've got an Xbox One, which is my current console, and I never upgraded to whatever the new one is, the Series X. Mostly because I didn't have the money at the time, and honestly, I didn't need to. There weren't enough games where I thought, well, I must upgrade to the Series X. And a lot of the games I wanted to play were available on both the Xbox One and the Series X, so I wasn't in a rush to do that. It just seemed like chucking money away. But I kind of weighed up when I jump into the next generation of consoles, should I get a PlayStation? Because I've been thinking about it for a while, because there are so many exclusives that I really would like to play. I mean, I've never played Last of Us. Both my wife and I very much enjoyed the series. We only watched it a couple of months ago, but that was great. The Spidey games look absolutely fantastic, and I really want to play them. And obviously, there's a Wolverine game, I think, coming up by the same studio. I think it's Activision who made them. I'm not sure. So I'm looking forward to that. And there's loads of others. So basically, I asked the question: I'm considering getting a PlayStation. What exclusives, might make it worth it? And I had like loads of people. I had like kind of 15, 20 people responding. Some of which people I knew, and then some just random people just responding, because clearly, again, Twitter's algorithm just promotes this stuff. And again, on quite a kind of an inane topic, it started chucking this. Loads of people get chucking in their tuppence on this one, which is kind of useful until they start repeating themselves. And I was just kind of hesitant of it. This is going to get towards more and more kind of gamer bros responding to this, which is not really what I want. So that I've changed it so only people I follow could actually respond to it. But thank you very much for those who pitched in on that one. I do want to play Elden Ring. It looks very, very fun. It won't be top of the list, but I will definitely give it a go at some point. The only thing I'd consider is a Steam Deck. Well, I was considering that. I really was, because the thing with Steam for me, I have quite a lot of stuff in my Steam library, but I have a Mac, which is, it's a hella powerful Mac, so it plays games you can play on it really well. Like Baldur's Gate runs absolutely amazingly. But there are still an awful lot of games out there where they just don't do a Mac version. So I did consider a Steam Deck. Not so much for the portability aspect of it. To a degree, but I don't commute. I don't travel as much as I did in my previous job. When I travel nowadays, it tends to just be into London and back rather than going away for numbers of days. Essentially, when I was living in Scotland, I had to travel to London a lot. So I'd have a lot of trains and planes and hotels and stuff like that. So that's when having something portable was really useful. And that's what I got my Switch for originally. But my Switch doesn't see a huge amount of use by me anymore, sadly. My little one started playing it. She loves Mario Party. Which is awesome. And she actually really wants to play like the old Sonic the Hedgehog games, so she finds them really hard, because they are really hard. But no, she enjoys that. So it's less important to me the portability aspect. And again, my Mac is a MacBook, so if I'm traveling, I'll take that with me and play something on that. But I was considering in terms of expanding the games I could play to other stuff. But then I started thinking about, well, actually, that means probably most of the time I'd use the Steam Deck. I would actually have it plugged into a dock and then it going into my computer. And then it's like, oh, what's the easiest way to do this to make sure that I can play. I don't think I could just stick in an HDMI and attach it to my kind of streaming card, which would work. But then I'd think about peripherals and go, well, actually, do I need a separate set of peripherals because I use a wireless mouse, or I have to connect the wireless mouse to the Steam Deck? And it became a whole thing in my head. And I thought, wouldn't it be easy just to get a PlayStation? You know, actually, most of the games that I want to play that I can't play on my Mac have a console version. So let's just go for the PlayStation option. And then as I said, I get stuff like Last of Us and the like, which I think has a PC version, as does Spidey. But I thought it'd be fun to do. So I'm hoping to do that in the next month or so. I'm not going to buy it until I've actually got time to play it. I mean, that would be the stupid thing. If I bought it now, I would stop editing. I would stop writing. I would, it wouldn't be a good idea from a productivity perspective. So it would be a little treat to myself once I've got some other bits and pieces done. But I'm very much looking forward to that. It should be good. A few of the PlayStation exclusives have been coming to PC, but on a several-year delay. Yeah, I've noticed that Last of Us, Spidey, and I think haven't got the recent God of Wars, like the Viking-themed God of Wars, I think have come out on PC as well. It is masterpieces like Last Guardian, Shadow of the Colossus are amazing. I've heard a lot of people talking about those, and I've seen bits of them being played. A friend of mine, Matt Blair, who is a very, very funny comedian and streamer. And if you don't follow him, follow Matt Blair. He's great. He's a huge fan of Shadow of the Colossus. I think he's played it many times on various systems. I'm pretty sure it originally came out on like PS2 or something like that, and he bought it on PS2 and then bought a remastered version on the PS3 and then the PS4. It's one of those games that's constantly been either has backwards compatibility or has actually just been remastered and re-released several times. But he's a huge fan of that, so I'll certainly have a long list of stuff. No doubts about that. I'm gonna have to update my streaming setup a little bit, mostly out of laziness, to be honest. So I'd rather not be chopping and changing cables a lot. So I'm gonna have I'll probably get myself an HDMI splitter so that both my Xbox and my PlayStation, that is not yet mine, can go into a switcher, and I'll probably do something similar with. I need to expand Ethernet stuff. I have, very fortunately, the people who owned this house before us, the room I'm using right now, which is a spare room, was also used as a home office by one of the people who owned it before. So they actually had Ethernet cables running up from downstairs up into this room, which is great in terms of both streaming and gaming. But it means I'm going to want to split that cable out and have it go into my laptop, into my Xbox, into the PlayStation. So a bit of chicanery to do. It'll probably involve a lot of cable ties, and I need to sort out my cable management here anyway. It's relatively efficient, but it's still messy as all heck. So I'm going to have to go back to that and sort all that out, because it is very distracting having a sea of cables behind you. And this is it done moderately well. It is still very, very messy, so I need to do some work with that. But yeah, that should be fun. And yeah, absolutely, I will definitely be streaming some PlayStation stuff, assuming that all works out. I'm curious. I'm tempted to bite the bullet and play Last of Us on stream as me playing it for the first time. I'm not. I've only streamed 2 full games before, which was Tomb Raider and Max Payne 2, both of which I played multiple times before, so I knew them pretty well. Last of Us, I think it'd be interesting to play. My kind of rule on this one, I've talked about it before, I don't like the idea of playing an RPG on stream for the first time, because essentially for an RPG, it's an awful lot of... For you're playing an RPG, it's a lot of listening to the dialogue, and they're making decisions about your character, and it's that kind of, unless you've got a complete detachment of playing a completely different protagonist, there's kind of a blending between yourself and your character, and a kind of not quite an emotional investment, but maybe an element of it, between you and your character, if you're playing, something like a Baldur's Gate or something like that. Whereas I'd feel a bit kind of exposed doing that on a stream, and maybe that's just me. But I think I would find it a little bit weird doing that on a stream. But for something like Last of Us, which is obviously, while it has role-playing-y elements to some degrees, it's more just a very high-quality action adventure survival-y game. So I think that could be good fun. That could be fun. Last of Us and God of War would be good on stream. Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. So yeah, that'd be fun. And I'd say the new Gods of War. I mean, one, they look a hell of a lot of fun. I like the look of the father-son dynamic from what I've seen people streaming it. I saw Matt Blair streaming it. I saw Kelly the Opera Geek was streaming it for a while as well, I think. So those look like a lot of fun. And also I'm a sucker for Norse mythology. I do like Greek mythology, but the fact they've gone into Norse mythology for these latest two, that makes it all the more appealing to me, because that's a lot of fun. Again, caveat, as person talking on the internet who is clearly white and bearded talking about Norse mythology, not a Nazi. And it really sucks that, you know, there are far too many people who have stolen Norse mythology for their horrible far right and horrendous ways. But I am looking forward to playing those games at some point. So I think I'll probably get Last of Us first of all, or Spidey, not sure. And then I'll definitely keep an eye out when we get to things like my brain stopped working. Black Friday sales. I'll be looking for things in Black Friday sales, which are like, these are awesome PlayStation games that have been out for like 3 or 4 years. Therefore, we're selling them quite cheap, but they're great for Dave because they've never played them before. So I'll have to keep an eye out for that when all of that comes around. But that should be fun. I am looking forward to it, and it'll get me into streaming more games, I think. And you'll get to see me have the living shit scared out of me playing The Last of Us and other such games. But I do want to swing around New York as Spidey. I think everyone goes back to, if you're of a certain age, the video game adaptation of Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire film, was awesome. It had some of the best city swinging mechanics and a good mixture of side quests and stuff like that. And I understand that the new Spidey games have that similar feel, but of course even better in terms of the cool stuff you can do. So that should be fun. That should be fun. Right, I have to go back to work, sadly. Boo, I'd much rather carry on talking to you and or editing this first episode of Shought Thorts. But sadly, I must depart and go back to work. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Thanks, Papaya. I will try my best to have good work. I'm pretty sure you all follow me anyway, but let's do the spiel for anyone who might be lurking who does not. If you've enjoyed this and would like more of my nonsensical content, you can follow me on Twitter, DC Bradshaw RPG, Blue Sky, dcbradshaw.com. Please follow me here. And also, if you don't do so already, please consider following me on YouTube. I'm DC Bradshaw as well on YouTube. All my VODs go on there, and that is where Shought Thorts and other creative, original creative content are going to go. So if you don't follow me on YouTube yet, please consider doing that. That would be wonderful. If you would like to support me in financial ways, well, that's very bloody kind, but let's say it anyway. I have a Ko-Fi. It's DC Bradshaw RPG. It's £3 a month for that, and you get access to exclusive stuff and works in progress, etc., etc. You can support me here by subscribing, which is very, very cool. If you have Amazon Prime, you can chuck me your Prime your Prime subscription, which is very cool. It means you get one free subscription to a Twitch channel per month, which is very cool. So if you'd like to consider doing that, that would be awesome. And you get the cool little pirate penguin that Jenny made. And finally, if you're feeling very generous, and please, for the love of God, don't do it, I do have a throne. There are links in all the stuff down there. There is a section that links to my throne. If you would like to buy me a present sometime, that'd be very cool. Okie doke. Let us see if there is anyone for the raiding. No, I cannot see anyone I follow is streaming right now, which is absolutely fine. I didn't even put the music back on. So let's wrap this all up. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Okay? Take care. Bye.